Dave from Kraft Music here in the gallery, and today we're going to be learning about the various 88-key weighted actions that are available for Roland digital pianos. Roland has been producing musical instruments for decades, including stage pianos, home digital pianos, synthesizers, workstation keyboards, and they've used a wide variety of 88-key weighted actions over the years. Roland has continued to improve and consolidate these actions, and now in 2025 there are exactly 3 weighted key actions to discuss. The actions are PHA-4, PHA-50, and the Grand Hybrid key action. Now it's going to sound like I'm presenting these actions in the order of good, better, best, and that is true to some extent, but it's not the whole story. So stick with me and I'll explain the similarities, differences, and some of the advantages of these various actions. Let's start with some similarities. What do these actions all have in common? PHA, that's Roland's acronym for Progressive Hammer Action. Let's take that one piece at a time. Hammer action, meaning that all of these instruments have a physical mechanism inside the digital piano. When you strike the key, a hammer raises, triggers the internal sensor, and that produces your piano sound. This is meant to accurately reproduce the inner workings of a grand piano and give you a more realistic feel. Now, what about the progressive part of progressive hammer action? Some manufacturers call this a graded hammer action. Other manufacturers call this a graduated hammer action. At the end of the day, it means the same thing. The bass notes on the instrument are a little bit heavier, and then gradually, as you move up towards the higher notes of the instrument, the higher keys are a little easier to press down. They're a little lighter, and this is exactly what you experience on a grand piano. The earliest iterations of the piano, or the piano forte, were revolutionary because they gave players the ability to play dynamically. You could play quiet piano and loud forte. Modern digital pianos and keyboards measure this dynamic, this velocity, with at minimum 2 sensors, one at the beginning of the key travel and one at the end of the key travel. When you're playing softly, the key moves slowly from the starting position to the ending position. When you're playing hard, the key moves quickly from the starting position to the ending position. But Roland uses a triple sensor technology in their digital piano action. This measures the key at the beginning of the travel, at the end of the travel, and there's a third sensor that measures the key's position within that range. So it's a much more accurate representation of your playing. These Roland key actions also feature a simulated ivory key surface on the white keys. It gives you a little extra grip. All 3 of these actions also include a feature called escapement. Escapement refers to the point in a grand piano action where the hammer slips off the jack. This allows the string to continue resonating as the hammer falls away and allows the string to ring. As you slowly press the key down, you'll feel a little bump partway through the key travel. That's the escapement point, and that's accurately represented in all 3 of these Roland key actions. Now let's talk about some of the differences between these 3 actions. The biggest takeaway here is the pivot length. The pivot length is determined by the length of the key stick and where that pivot point is placed. Let's start with the PHA-4. This is Roland's compact action. And what I mean by that is that the key stick is shorter, the pivot length is shorter. And the advantage here is that Roland can build this action into instruments that are much more compact and slim. This is sometimes called the PHA-4 standard key action. You'll see the PHA-4 action used in a variety of instruments like the FP10 and FP30. These are more portable digital pianos that can either serve as a home piano or a stage piano or something you might take to lessons or to performances. The PHA-4 action is found on some entry-level furniture-style digital pianos like this RP701 that I'm sitting in front of and the HP702. You'll also see the PHA-4 used in stage pianos like the RD08, the RD88, and even synthesizer workstation type keyboards like the Juno D8 and the Phantom 08. And all of these instruments share the PHA-4 action because it is so compact. It gives the instrument designer a lot of options to build an instrument that is slim, compact, portable, lightweight, but also retaining that 88-key feel. Well, that sounds great. 88-key weighted action, nice and portable. You can use it as a home piano or a stage piano. What's the downside? The downside is that short pivot length makes it a little more difficult to play at the back of the key, and that can be a really important area for comfort as a player. Believe it or not, the PHA-4 may feel a little bit heavier under your fingers than the PHA-50 or the Grand Hybrid action. This action requires a little more velocity to get that key moving, and depending on your needs, this could be an advantage. Maybe you're improvising, playing a lot of busy jazz, tons of notes. This helps to prevent accidental note triggering during really dense passages, which again makes it a pretty good choice for a stage piano. But for really detailed and nuanced playing, a longer key stick, a longer pivot length is going to give you that control and that precision that you're looking for. This brings me to the PHA-50 action. This features that longer key stick, the longer pivot length, and that allows players to play more comfortably at the back of the key. The PHA-50 also incorporates wood into the key stick design, unlike the PHA-4, which is an all-plastic action. We often get asked the question, is this digital piano going to feel just like my acoustic grand piano, the instrument that I grew up playing or the instrument that I play at church? And that can be a difficult question to answer, but I will tell you, a longer pivot length action like the PHA-50, if you're accustomed to playing from the front of the key to the back of the key and everywhere in between, an action like the PHA-50 is going to be a lot more comfortable for you. Another advantage in the PHA-50 is the inclusion of something called a stabilizing pin. As the name implies, this pin is designed to keep the key stable. Specifically, we're talking about the side-to-side or lateral movement that can sometimes happen when playing. If you go up to an instrument that uses PHA-4 action with no stabilizing pin, you can wiggle that key just a little bit side to side. Not really that big of a deal for most playing, but when you move up to an instrument that has the PHA-50, it virtually eliminates that side-to-side motion on the key. It feels a lot more stable. The PHA-50 is found on some intermediate home digital pianos like the DP603, the HP704, the GP6. It's also found on some higher-end stage piano models like the FP90X, the RD2000EX, and even a workstation like the Phantom 8EX. Now let's talk about the hybrid grand action, and Roland reserves this key action for its premier home digital pianos like the LX6, the LX9, and the GP9. The hybrid grand basically takes everything that's great about the PHA-50 action and makes it just a little bit better. It's an even longer pivot length, which provides more realistic playing, especially at the back of the key. There's a simulated ebony feel on the black keys. This is found also to some extent in the PHA-50 action, and some models even feature the hybrid grand action with haptic feedback. This provides a little extra low-frequency vibration as you're playing the keys. So that's a quick rundown on the 3 levels of progressive hammer action found in Roland digital pianos. Once again, I'm Dave, here in the gallery at Kraft Music. Thanks for watching.